Good design, good cameras, power performance, and of course the price. Realme exactly knows what they should focus on. And the Realme 5 Pro is one of the many examples of that. In our hands-on review of the 5 Pro, oh wait, have you watched that? No? It's right here. So, in our hands-on review of the 5 Pro, it looked like a promising device to me. But do I have a change in opinion after using it for almost a month? Let's find out. Okay, design-wise, the only concern is the polycarbonate back, that too in terms of durability. Otherwise, this is a pretty good design. These diamond-shaped patterns glow in light and darker shade when tilted, making the phone look very appealing. On hands too, it feels okay. It's nice and considerably hefty. Now, don't expect anything of the Realme X kind. That phone has a different level good design. But as I said, by looks, I love this phone. This, I think, is one of the best looking designs for the price. But the good looks come for a price. Smudges are inevitable on it, and no matter how much you clean it, it keeps coming back. So I would advise you to put a case on it. By the way, you get the case inside the box itself. It should last you for 2 months or so. Aesthetically, everything seems good except for the tactility of the buttons. And this is one of the dark sides of having a phone built entirely of plastic. Down below, you see a USB-C port, a single firing bottom speaker, and thankfully a headphone jack. Output from the headphone jack and the speakers are well unimpressive, like with most of the mid-range phones. But something unique that the company has provided is that the phone is splash resistant. I talked about this in the Realme 5 review as well. This feature is nothing like IP ratings, but the company says that the openings of the phone are sealed with rubber gaskets to prevent it from moisture or water damage. So maybe now accidental coffee spills will have less impacts. So overall, I like the design. It looks good, feels good, so no complaints. On the display front, it's the same as the Realme 3 Pro, a 6.3 inches IPS LCD screen with 19.5:9 aspect ratio. It's protected with Gorilla Glass 3 Plus, so it should be resistant to minor drops and impacts. I haven't tried dropping it though. The colors on the screen look good and vibrant. Of course, not the AMOLED level, but not bad either. Brightness too is sufficient indoors and okay outdoors. There are various battery saver modes you can use to limit the brightness levels as well. The display is housed for a mini drop notch that carries the selfie camera. It's small and not obtrusive at all. Also, there's a color temperature slider inside the display settings that lets you change the screen temperature as for your liking. So overall, if we think about it, the display is familiar to us. There is not much changes happening here from the Realme 3 Pro. The Realme 5 Pro runs on Snapdragon 712, which is essentially the same as the Snapdragon 710 except for slightly higher clock speed on the higher performance cores. In terms of GPU, there has been no changes from the Snapdragon 710. It's still the Adreno 616, which performs just like what we saw on the Realme X. In real life, you're not going to see much differences between the Realme X and the Realme 5 Pro, except for some slight 10% improvement in the CPU performance, which, by the way, you are not going to notice all that much. But the 5 Pro has shown significant improvement from the 3 Pro in case of AnTuTu scores. Check out these benchmarks. The Realme 5 Pro is available in 3 memory configurations: 4 plus 64 GB, 6 plus 64 GB, and 8 plus 128 GB, all of which are UFS 2.1 based, so it's basically faster load times of apps and games. There is also a dedicated slot in case you need more storage, which can go up to 256 GB. On everyday use, I found the performance to be smooth. Games ran well, I played PUBG in high settings, almost stutter-free, so this is a good gaming phone, I can vouch for that. Even on normal use, whatever apps or games you run, it's going to run very well. And even on the heating part, you're not going to experience all that much. There's just normal rise in temperature while intense gaming, which is nothing so overwhelming. The Realme 5 Pro comes with Android Pie with its custom Color OS 6 on top. This combination is what we have already seen on other Realme phones, so the 5 Pro offers just the same experience. I say this in all Realme reviews that ColorOS is not so great and it still holds true for me. However, I really wish that the rumors of them coming out with their own OS comes true because that would be really amazing. The software, though not well refined, gives you a lot of customization options for navigation and other functions. There is also something called Game Space that basically lets you minimize interruptions while playing games. There's a night shield feature though if you wish to protect your eyes from harmful blue lights. For security, we have the basics, fingerprint sensor and face unlock. Registering fingerprint takes some time, but the end result is zippy fast and accurate almost all the times. Face unlock too is fast, but since it's done by the selfie camera, I use the fingerprint sensor as my primary method for unlocking. Now let's talk about the cameras, and this is the first time that the company has provided a quad camera setup. And this is hilarious somehow because Realme did not even think of a triple camera setup, they jumped straight from dual to quad cameras. Anyways, moving on to the camera specifications, the primary is a 48 megapixel quad Bayer sensor, then we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, then comes the 2 megapixel depth sensor and the 2 megapixel macro lens. Now first let's go for the primary camera. And this is the same sensor that we saw on the Realme X, the infamous and universally used Sony IMX586 sensor. Alright, first let me talk about the images from the 5 Pro. I see good sharpness in the images, the colors look nice and punchy, yet not oversaturated. In case you want more vibrancy, you can turn on the Chroma Boost option. There's a 48 megapixel option for clicking pictures, but you won't find much differences upon first glance with the 12 megapixel images. Just upon close inspection, the 12 megapixel images look sharper thanks to pixel binning. While we're still talking about the primary images, I also compared the images from the Realme X and the Realme 5 Pro because both of their chipsets use the same ISP and the same sensor. And to make the comparison fair, I tested their images in a different color accurate screen because, well, one is an LCD screen and another is an AMOLED screen. So images are bound to look different in their respective screens. And my test showed that apart from the slightest of color changes, there's actually not much differences. Realme X's color looks slightly more saturated, while the 5 Pro's images had more subtle color to them. In portrait images too, only the skin tone is a little bit different and it looks like the 5 Pro has slightly better edge detection, otherwise everything is almost the same. Same goes with selfies, both portraits and normal selfies. Now let's move on to the wide-angle images, and as already mentioned, this is the first time that the company has included a wide-angle lens and the implementation is not bad actually. The primary and wide-angle images don't suffer much color shifting, although slightly lesser details on the wide-angle photos is expected, but it's nothing so worrying. The third depth sensor is quite good too, surprisingly good for a 2 megapixel sensor. The edge detection is okay, it slightly takes a hit in the hairlines, otherwise it looks good. The blur too looks pleasing, so I quite like the portrait images from the 5 Pro. The macro images are, well, not as impressive as I thought it would be. Actually, if you go near a subject and click from the primary camera, the images come out better than clicking pictures through the macro lens. So like I said in the Realme 5 review, I found it to be rather gimmicky. Maybe the company can provide a better macro lens in the future offerings. Nighttime images are, well, a lot grainy, but there is nightscape feature to compensate for it. With the nightscape feature, it improves the lighting and balance of exposure in images. It's nothing extraordinary, but it's not bad either. Video-wise, you have the usual options: 4K at 30 FPS and 1080p and 720p at 30 and 60 FPS. While shooting handheld, I found the 1080p at 30 FPS option to have the best stabilization. But if you want better quality, you can shoot in 4K using a gimbal. The battery capacity on the Realme 5 Pro is similar to the Realme 3 Pro, both having 4045 mAh batteries. The battery life on the phone is impressive. It can get you through a day easily with some battery left at the end. If you are a moderate to light user, the battery is going to last even long. With the 5 Pro, you get a fast charger inside the box, a 20-watt adapter that supports Whoop Charge 3.0. You can get the device fully charged in about 80 to 85 minutes, which is very impressive. So, like all Realme phones, the Realme 5 Pro is also a very good value for money device. Here we get some welcome additions like a wide-angle lens and a Type-C port, which were not there before, and these make the device very competitive. But I think that it's time for Realme to step up their game, not just in terms of specs and prices, but start doing something different, become first movers. Because, well, in the last few months, I have reviewed a lot of Realme phones, all slightly different from each other, all value for money phones, and that's it. The only unique thing that's there is that you get so and so specs for a more affordable price. But don't get me wrong, I just mean that there is nothing innovative going on, because as good as the company is doing, focusing on new things is going to help the brand even more. So that was our review of the Realme 5 Pro. Do let us know in the comment section below what do you think about the device. Also, do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Till then, I'm Pratima Adhikari and thank you for watching.